Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Buell. I'm an editor for The Assembly. It's a journal for public scholarship on education, and I'm here with a friend to talk to you about grassroots professional learning.
What's up, everyone? I'm Mike Tinoco. I'm a high school English teacher. I live and teach in San Jose, California, and I'm here today to talk about Critical Friends, which is a teacher-led grassroots inquiry space.
All right. And so, what does a Critical Friends Teacher Inquiry Group look like?
Um, so we are a group of educators throughout the South Bay. So most of us are in San Jose. Some folks are in Santa Cruz. Some are in other parts of the South Bay. But we get together on a monthly basis and we hold inquiry sessions where we take turns each month um, presenting a question or an idea that we have about something about our practice. And sometimes that might be like in the classroom, sometimes that might be at our school site or something around our own philosophy of teaching. But the idea is that each person presents something to the rest of the group, and collectively we support each other in thinking through that question and sharing resources with one another. So the idea germinated from conversations that I was having with a friend of mine years ago, Ray Ramirez, and we were both feeling frustrated, disappointed with the insufficient PD we were getting at our schools, right? Professional development that was not adequately meeting our needs. So we decided let's hold a space for ourselves and invite other teachers so that we can really engage in critical conversations with one another and push ourselves. And so that's a little bit of like how it originated and a little bit of what it looks like.
And can you give us an example? What's a topic you just talked about?
Sure. Well, I can actually share one that I presented recently because I think my inquiry was the most recent one. Um, and what I was sharing was around how to teach my students about feminism and patriarchy with using like a critical media literacy framework. And I was asking the space like how to construct a prompt or set of prompts that allows room for students to potentially disagree, right? Rather than imposing a a perspective that doesn't allow students to grapple. So that was a lot of what we were looking at or discussing was how can we present critical concepts but not like indoctrinate at the same time. And there's like a tension with that because when we're doing work about social racial justice, like it's hard to allow room for perspectives that are so contrary to what we're trying to promote, right? A liberatory, loving, humanizing work. Like it's hard to allow room for perspectives that might promote patriarchy, right? Or that might question feminism. Nonetheless, like I want students to be on their journey of coming to understanding something for themselves. And so that's what I was soliciting support from the group with. And it was a great conversation. And in the end, I ended up designing an essay assignment where students were able to agree or disagree with a range of quotes, feminist quotes. And fortunately, like the vast majority of students like agreed. But with that assignment, like they were developing counterclaims because I wanted them to try to challenge their own assumptions or their own perspectives. So all of the way in which I facilitated and implemented the unit was in large part due to the conversations from that inquiry, the Critical Friends inquiry.
And when you have a topic in mind, do you prepare resources, or you send the topic ahead of time to let people think about it, or do you just just show up and talk about it? How does that look?
So how it usually works is, like at my inquiry, we would ask folks like, all right, who wants to sign up for next time? You know, we try to plan out like a couple of months ahead, sometimes even several months ahead, where we get an idea of who would like to present. And then as we approach that next date, we ask that person if they can send an email out to the rest of the group, maybe like 2 weeks out or a week out at the latest, where folks can have an understanding of what the question is. And sometimes there's a reading attached with that question to support kind of background knowledge about whatever the topic is, or it's a video. Sometimes it's academic articles. Sometimes it's not, right? It might be an excerpt from like a book or something. So there's a whole range of resources that folks provide. And at the end of the day, it's whatever that individual feels like is most helpful for supporting understanding for what it is they want to explore. So I'm like, one example that comes to mind from a buddy a few years back was like James Baldwin. Oh gosh, what is it? A letter to educators or something. Yeah. Another person was exploring like unions. And so we were looking at, I remember there being like a YouTube video about like unions, right? Another point, like we brought in a reading by Dr. Martin Luther King about loving your enemies. So it's like the resources have really run the gamut.
Mm-hmm. And then when you're, and so what I'm hearing is you sign up ahead of time and then maybe gather some resources, send them out. And then when you go there, you pose your question, and is there a structured facilitation involved, or is it pretty open?
It's pretty open. I think initially we had tried utilizing a protocol where there's like, whoever's leading the inquiry would present their thing, and then we'd have like clarifying questions, and then there's discussion. Like there was a really structured format, but we found that for the kind of space we were wanting to co-hold, it was actually kind of constraining in some ways. So it's been really fluid and open, and generally how it works is we start off our session with like a check-in. We have a set of I don't think we call it norms, but it's like our principles. I think we call it principles. We say those, and then the individual leading the inquiry will remind us, kind of recap what is the question, share their thoughts around it, and then we open it up, and then we generally close with like a reflection. So whoever is leading the inquiry, they let us know like what are they taking away, what are they wanting to implement or do differently. And then we close with appreciations after that, and that's generally the format.
And then how did you? So depending on when this video is posted, we'll see people who are watching this would see other organizations like NICOR or like People's Ed. So those are groups that are already put together. How did you find these people to start your inquiry groups with?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate in that my buddy Ray, he's someone I knew from graduate school. So when he relocated to the Bay Area, like we had kept in touch, and even though we were at different schools, we were wanting to create this space. So I think originally it was just like the two of us, and we went into it with the idea that like it might just be the two of us for now, but it'd be great if others could hop on board. So then we just started reaching out to different educators who we already knew. Those could be educators at our school or educators who we've crossed paths with at spaces like Teachers for Social Justice, and so I was fortunate in that like I knew a few folks already in San Jose, but also like I just made efforts to reach out to people at my school who I didn't know as well too. And there's several colleagues who I invited to the Critical Friend Space who've come, and a few who like I've developed really close relationships with, and I'm really grateful for that. That wouldn't have happened if that initiated contact didn't take place. So yeah, in part it was for Critical Friends, but also it was just like I'm really curious about what this educator is doing in their classroom. Like I want to have a sense of like shared understanding of this work and not feel isolated. So I think more than anything, it was for me to just have a sense of like camaraderie and companionship in this work. And it was a bonus that like they were interested in coming to Critical Friends. So for folks watching, I would say like if you're at a school where you might not know folks, like just reach out to those who you've heard say things that like it seems like it's in alignment with what you are practicing, or where you sense there might be some shared there overlap in what you're doing or shared understanding. It's because I'm that's what it's taken for me to have some of these connections.